Alright, so welcome back to another SnowRunner truck review. Today in this video, we're going to check out the second brand new edition of the Tatra line that was added on September 9th, opening up the Year 2 pass. So before we start, I ask that you please help support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing the video as well. Alright, so without further ado, let's jump into it and check it out. Dating back to 1850, Tatra has been engineering rugged, heavy off-roading vehicles able to take on the hardest of tasks. The Tatra 815 model is the successor of the famous off-roader, the T813. The Tatra Force line is built to be transported on the C-130 aircraft for purposes of military transport. This vehicle also can have multiple loadouts that can range from 6x6 to 12x12 configurations. With the ability to add armor plating for protection, it also has been used in the civilian sector as mobile cranes, fire trucks, and rescue vehicles. In SnowRunner, the Tatra Force doesn't stray too far from those areas of expertise. It's a slow, lumbering off-roader, yet it does have some things that set it apart from the other Tatras as well. So before we talk about those things, let's take a look at the base stats. The Tatra Force T815-7 is classified as a heavy truck. It weighs 14 tons. In its stock configuration, it boasts a power to weight of A+, a durability of A+, fuel consumption B-, fuel capacity is 380 liters or 101 gallons. It comes with the stock suspension. Its tires also come stock with a 50-inch mud tire. Its all-wheel drive is switchable, and its diff lock is capable. Alright, let's dive into the pros and cons of the Tatra Force T815. As per usual, bad news first, so coming in at downside number 1, ground clearance. For all the Tatras that have been introduced to the game so far, the Force just seems to be the worst when it comes to ground clearance. Now, it does boast a good tire size, but it just doesn't have a respectable ground clearance like its predecessor, the T813. Later, we'll talk about its weight distribution and how it affects this as well, but lacking ground clearance will get you caught up in more ways than just one in this brutal off-road experience. Downside number 2, front overhang. This downside is pretty normal when it comes to cab overs, especially the large Tatra trucks. Roughly 1/3 of the T815's cab hangs over its foremost axle, which will get you caught up in terrain or bury itself in the mud. The vehicle does have a front end that slopes upward, which will help in those sticky situations as well, but there's just no getting around this downside. The lack of ground clearance and the front overhang are further hindered by our next con coming up. Downside number 3, weight distribution. Upon visual inspection and the knowledge we have on the Tatra trucks and their positive cambers, drivers will notice that the camber on the front end of the Tatra is almost non-existent. This is evidence that it's heavily weighted toward the front of the vehicle. Similar to the Dan 96-320, this will cause the vehicle to bury its front end when going through terrain. Knowing that it already has a subpar ground clearance and a large front overhang, the compressed front suspension also exacerbates our prior downsides, decreasing performance. Downside number 4, versatility. In its defense, the T815 does have better utility than all the other large Tatra trucks in the game so far, but it still lacks versatility. On average, most trucks in the game can use more add-ons than the Tatra Force. Without saying too much, again, I just wish these trucks had more options to make them complete workhorse vehicles for drivers. Downside number 5, it gets outperformed by its peers. Similar to the T813, the successor, the T815, simply gets outperformed by other large 8x8s. To be quite honest, the Tatra Force probably has the worst performance amongst the Tatra 8x8s. This is attributed to the weight distribution, forcing a compressed front suspension, the lack of always-on differential locking, and the wheel spin due to that lack of diff lock. And finally, coming in at downside number 6, it's hard to unlock. The Dawn region, although small in size, seems like a puzzle. To unlock the Tatra Force, just like the Tatra Phoenix, requires mission completions, but this time it's called the Sleeping King task. Being that you have to complete multiple missions that could take hours of dredging through the elements, I felt this one was a downside. However, I do like how the developers changed up the unlocking process for vehicles on the Dawn region. Well folks, those downsides seem pretty harsh, but stick around because the Tatra Force has some upsides worthy of note. Here are the pros for the Tatra Force T815-7. Coming in at upside number 1, power. It behooves me to open up our list with power, especially when the vehicle shares the largest engine in the game with elite trucks. The Tatra Force, like its predecessor, are powerful enough to climb through all the gears in the advanced special gearbox while off-roading. Regardless, when you possess a powerful engine like this, it simply cannot be left off the list. Upside number 2, all-wheel drive and diff lock. Along with amazing power, the T815, like all the other Tatras, operate under the switchable all-wheel drive and differential locking features. If you watch my reviews, you already know that I enjoy the switchable options, especially the all-wheel drive option. While all-wheel drive is such a powerful asset, differential locking instantly makes a difference in the Tatra trucks when activated. Upside number 3, Tatra backbone and tires. Objectively speaking, the Tatra truck line has the best suspensions in the game of SnowRunner. In previous reviews I've explained this upside in detail, but in short, the backbone is connected to each half axle, which acts independently as suspension is concerned. The backbone also delivers power to all 8 tires as well. The way each half axle moves in response to terrain is quite amazing to witness. And lastly, anytime you boast a tire that's above 50 inches, it has to go on the upsides list. Upside number 4, fuel capacity and consumption. Surprisingly, the largest engine in the game provides good fuel economy as well. Upgrading power usually comes at a cost, which is fuel economy. But vehicles with this particular engine seem to have good range and fuel burn. The Tatra has a large 380-liter, 101-gallon fuel tank coupled with a roof rack to provide fuel and supplies to keep the T815 on the mission trail. Upside number 5, it's the best Tatra for utility. It's common knowledge that the Tatras lack vehicle add-ons which hamstring their utility. However, the Tatra Force has more options than its brothers. It can use the saddle high, the Tatra small crane, the Tatra fuel carrier, and the sideboard bed. I must also mention that it can equip a roof rack, and it's the only Tatra that can equip a small crane, sideboard bed, and attach a hitch trailer. In fact, the only heavy class trucks that can have this setup are the Azov 73210, the International Paystar 5600TS, and of course the Tatra Force. Heavy trucks just don't have that many options when it comes to add-ons, so I'm thankful for this one. Upside number 6, durability. To make this upside short and sweet, the T815 has better durability than most trucks in the heavy class. Its damage tolerances are among the highest in the whole game. The only trucks that have the same durability are its predecessor, the T813, and the mighty Zix 605R. Say what you will about its slow-going performance through deep places, but when it comes to toughness, this truck can take a beating for sure. And finally, coming in at upside number 7, stability. We cannot forget about our final upside, which is what the Tatras are known for in SnowRunner due to the backbone suspension system. The Tatra Force is a stable truck because of its wide gate and low silhouette. However, this upside is somewhat removed when adding the small crane. Unlike the Tatra Phoenix, it seems that there's not an abundance of weight in the lower parts of the frame. By adding the small crane, you increase the vertical center of gravity, which will make the vehicle easier to tip over. Now wait, the vehicle is still pretty stable, but just keep this one in mind when you're on your travels. Alright, so moving on to my personal ratings for this truck. For power, I gave it a 5 because it shares the largest engine in the game with trucks like the Zix 605R. For terrain navigation, a rating of 4. A generous rating here because of the backbone system and its ability to get the pickups and drop-offs even though it might be at a slower pace. It's slow, stable, and powerful, so with all that in mind, it's quite easy to use for drivers. If it had the always-on diff lock and all-wheel drive, I think this rating would have been a 5. For aesthetics, I like the military look, which is similar to the Azov 5319, so I think a rating of 3 is good here. Stability is one notch below its brothers, but it's still a very stable platform and can be trusted. Just keep in mind what we said about the small crane. Just like its predecessor, the T815 also can traverse great distances with its good fuel economy and roof rack, a rating of 5. Even though the Tatra Force can use more add-ons than any other Tatra vehicle in the game, it's still missing things that would merit a higher rating. Just like the other Tatra 8x8s, it has decent grip when diff lock is activated, but without it, I cannot give this 8x8 a rating of 5. So in conclusion, the Tatra Force T815-7 is the slow, stable, durable, and dependable truck, but it does have some issues that need to be addressed. When I saw previews of this vehicle, I expected it to outperform the T813, which I felt needed a boost to match its real-life ability. It's funny I find myself here again once more. Out of both Tatra trucks released in Phase 5, I was sure this time that the T815 would be just a step below the mighty Zix 605R, but again, I was wrong. The vehicle is front heavy, and this is evident from the compressed front axles as well as the way the vehicle performs. It struggles a little bit with wheel spin, but like I've been saying all along, if the Tatras were given always-on diff lock, you would see a major difference. When differential locking is engaged in the lower gears, the Tatra Force actually does pretty well. To me, this vehicle is a test of our patience. Some drivers want speed with raw domination of the elements, and others a relaxed, slow playstyle. Both are great, but to appreciate the T815 along with the other Tatras, you must have some patience. To be honest, the Tatra Force will get you where you want to go, but it might be at a slower pace. Something I've learned along the way is that every truck in the game has its own role, and I've come to appreciate them more for what they are. SnowRunner isn't going to get easier, especially in the year 2 pass, and I think the days of blazing down trails might be less as we move forward. With all that being said, just like Amur in the Dawn region, it could be a lot of dredging through the elements at slower paces, where this truck could be utilized with its good economy, stability, power, durability, and also dependability. So in closing, I do wish it had more vehicle add-on options, better weight distribution, and differential locking. However, the T815 can serve you well if you have patience for its slow and steady nature. Try it out and let me know what you think. I hope this review gave you a fresh, new perspective of the Tatra Force T815-7. Please smash the like button. Share the video with someone who is struggling with the game, and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any future content. Hope y'all have a wonderful day, God bless, and stay upright.